Organizations are continuing to adopt video for corporate communications. Executives recognize the increasing role video communications play in the way they do business. Use cases for enterprise video are multiplying faster than ever before. So why do businesses still wrestle with developing a strategy for video? And how does one make smart choices when selecting an enterprise video platform? In this program, two of the leading experts in the industry, Forrester analyst Phil Karcher and Chris Zalumis, Vice President of Product Management for Kumu, share their insights and expertise in the area of enterprise video communications. What is the next generation video communications platform? And how do you determine the right solution to get the most value from your video communications? Welcome to today's webcast entitled Video with Value, a Forrester Research Perspective, Making Smart Choices When Selecting an Enterprise Video Platform. I'm Stacy Naraki, and joining me today is Phil Karcher, analyst with Forrester Research, focused on enterprise collaboration and video communication technologies. Welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Stacy. Great to be here.
Great to have you. And also joining us today is Chris Zalumis, Vice President of Product Management with Kumu. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good to be here as well.
Great. So to get us started, Phil's going to be first taking us through some research from his recently published report, The Forrester Wave on Video Platforms for the Enterprise. Following that, Chris will take us through some detail about the Kumu solutions, and then we'll close the webcast with a demonstration. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Phil, to get things started.
Thanks, Stacy. I'd like to talk today about the results of our evaluation on enterprise video platforms. This was actually our first evaluation of this important and growing category. I'll share with you the evaluation results as well as some best practices when it comes to selecting a vendor for a solution. First, why did we decide to evaluate this category? When we look at the data, we see that organizations continue to adopt IP video for internal communications. This data, taken from a survey that Forrester fields annually to IT decision makers, shows a clear trend that over the past 3 years, more organizations have been investing in enterprise IP and digital video for internal use, such as for corporate communications or for training. We find that business executives and corporate communications professionals are increasingly interested in using live streaming and on-demand video to better effectively communicate with their employees. When we look at the data by company size, we can see that larger organizations have a higher adoption of the technology because they typically have a more distributed workforce and therefore a greater need to use video communications to effectively communicate with their employees. However, generally, all organizations can benefit from using video to enhance training and communications to their workforce. However, the data doesn't tell the full story. We can see that organizations are not only adopting the use of this technology, they're using it for more purposes than before. Organizations typically look to get started with video publishing for quarterly events like CEO or executive all-hands or company meetings. More organizations look to get more involved with training and may even give their sales or HR departments access to the platform to publish video more frequently. And more organizations these days are interested even in granting access to a greater breadth of employees to share best practices themselves, sort of in a YouTube for the enterprise use case. As more organizations leverage video content from a variety of sources, they have a greater need for a platform to centralize this capability and manage content in a single repository.
Phil, I have a question. As it relates to the trends around the training use case and the increase in that social collaboration, what are you seeing customers doing in regards to leveraging the social collaboration and the mobile devices for training use cases?
Great question. Actually, training, and particularly how-to videos, are one of the most compelling benefits of user-generated content in the enterprise. When you give employees access to, not just webcams to upload video themselves, but screen sharing to show other employees how to do something or how to sell something, that's when user-generated content becomes particularly interesting.
Great.
When we looked at the video platforms market, we found vendors had a variety of different capabilities that they termed a video platform. Fundamentally, however, video platforms are a category of software and hardware to capture video, whether live or in the form of files, to manage that content in a repository and to organize it, and to deliver that content live or on demand. Our evaluation found that leaders in this category have a greater capability to capture video from a variety of inputs, such as studio cameras for highly produced events, but also video conferencing endpoints, webcams if you want to enable employees to upload content of themselves, and perhaps even mobile devices. Leaders in this category also can deliver video content to a greater variety of endpoints, not just PCs, but to mobile devices like tablets and smartphones, and to digital signage. The Forrester Wave is our methodology for evaluating the vendors or products in a particular space. This Forrester Wave evaluation had 3 criteria for vendor inclusion. Firstly, vendors had to focus on internal enterprise communications. Secondly, the vendors had to show that they can support the integration and security requirements of enterprises, such as authentication with directories for permissions to access and view content. And thirdly, vendors had to show that they have a track record of working with large enterprises. So all the vendors in this wave evaluation are vendors that we hear about from our client references frequently in competitive scenarios. We evaluated these vendors along 23 criteria through vendor surveys, executive strategy briefings and product demos, as well as talking to these companies' customer references. We scored those 23 criteria along 2 axes, current offering and strategy, which you can see on the chart to the right, and we used those scores to plot the vendors and to segment them as leaders, strong performers, contenders, or risky bets. These are the criteria we use to evaluate the vendors in the wave. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to highlight several which I think are particularly important when it comes to a platform selection decision. Internal YouTube and portal features ask about the ability to integrate with SharePoint if you want to point employees to video on an existing intranet rather than deploy a new portal. It also asks about the ability to support social features like rating, commenting, tagging, and sharing video, much like you'd expect in an enterprise YouTube scenario. Webcasting features were a major differentiator for several vendors. Webcasting being the ability to portray slides along with video content was something that some but not all vendors could do. Some vendors had tools to automate and simplify the process of synchronizing slides with video, whereas others require you to upload slides beforehand or after the fact and synchronize them manually. Direct recording options talks to the ability to ingest content or capture content from a variety of sources, whether those are video conferencing endpoints or infrastructure, webcams, studio cameras, mobile devices. The greater variety of devices or sources you can input content from, the more flexibility you have in having a video platform that can serve a variety of needs. Search and metadata support is also very important. If content is worth saving, it's worth finding. So therefore, you want employees to be able to find content that is that contains the information that they're looking for in their jobs. File format, video codec, and protocol support are interesting, particularly today, with the interest in supporting delivery to mobile devices. So leading vendors are able to support live as well as on-demand delivery to iOS as well as Android devices besides PCs and browsers. Deployment models are another important point of evaluation. Different customers have different preferences for deployment in the cloud or on premises, depending on their security and network considerations, as well as whether their audience is going to be accessing the content behind the firewall or over the internet if they're remotely distributed. Here you can see the results of the evaluation. Kumu scored highly on strategy because they had a strong enterprise track record, impressive customer references, and a history of working with large enterprises. Kumu scored highest on current offering for having the most complete application toolset, as well as having great support for technology integrations and for supporting network delivery requirements. Generally, leaders in the wave took extensible approaches, not just for having APIs to customize and extend the functionality of the products, but vendors in the Wave had complete portal and content management application feature sets. They had integrations with enterprise software, such as portals like SharePoint, social applications like IBM Connections, and with hardware, like enterprise CDNs provided by Blue Coat, Riverbed, or Cisco, or being able to provide those appliances to mitigate network delivery themselves. Leaders also are able to support a variety of IP video publishing use cases, webcasting, recording, and streaming video conferences, as well as user-generated content. Having talked to these companies' customer references about their priorities, about their pain points, and having talked to the vendors about their roadmaps, I think there are going to be several areas for innovation and focus in 2013. Managing live and on-demand video over the network continues to be a major priority and a major pain for many organizations looking to deploy a video publishing service. And video platforms are focused on mitigating that network impact through supporting features like adaptive bit rates, but more importantly, being able to integrate with enterprise CDN and infrastructure appliances. Extending reach to mobile users is also a high priority, as customers want to be able to support their employees accessing video content from any place at any time on any device. Expanding user-generated content is also important, as more organizations look at going beyond just a one-to-many type of publishing scenario, but enabling many stakeholders to upload and publish content and share what they know with the rest of the organization. Video platforms are also focused on becoming a single repository for all video content, so that they would be able to manage content produced from webcasts, from video conference recordings, and even web conference recordings, allowing employees just one single destination to access all the content, all the video content they need for their jobs. And lastly, and very importantly, we're seeing a lot of innovation in search to deal with a tidal wave of video. Not just the ability to search for particular files, but even the ability to search within videos to find the specific piece of content and speech that someone said that is relevant to what you're looking for, rather than have to wade through an hour-long video. Besides the technology considerations and vendor capabilities we've been talking about, there's some other best practices when it comes to vendor selection. Talking to customer references, over and over again, I heard that it's critical to bring the right people to the table. You need to bring your IT security, your network professionals, in addition to your corporate communications and perhaps marketing if the platform will be used for customer-facing purposes. You need to choose a platform that can be customized to the idiosyncrasies of your environment too. Perhaps if you're looking for a formulaic or a turnkey solution, that's fine. But if you want to integrate the platform with SharePoint, if you want to match it to the idiosyncrasies of your network, then you need a vendor who can help drive that process. And speaking of a network who can drive that process, you want a vendor who will demand that you bring the right stakeholders to the table, who can tell you what you're missing in the implementation process, and who has experience deploying this solution in complex enterprise environments. That's it for me. I'll hand it back to you now, Stacy.
Thank you, Phil. That was great to hear that the demand for overall video communications in the enterprise is continuing to rise. I have a question for you about the slide that you had on proliferating use cases. It sounded like people are no longer using video for just employee all-hands meetings or just training, that those use cases are proliferating. And specifically, my question's on mobile use. You talked about the online use of video and extending that to mobile devices. In the interviews you've done with various customers in various industries, has it come up that people want to be able to use video on mobile devices that is offline?
Yes, absolutely. I think that ideally you want to be able to support all the use cases. You want to be able to live stream, you want to be able to access content on demand over mobile devices, but also access offline. So this is a use case which we hear particularly from clients who are interested in deploying tablets to sales to show content in sales presentations, or perhaps in retail scenarios if someone on the floor wants to show a customer a video, particularly scenarios when there is no internet connection or you can't rely on the internet connection. So the ability to support that is important, and we see customers even resorting to dedicated solutions to manage content pushed to mobile devices. So I think the ability to manage that from your video platform is attractive.
Great. Going back to your comment about having one central place to store all content,
Right,
and be able to manage it for both online and offline use. And
Yeah.
Chris, I know you're going to touch on that, right?
Yeah, certainly. And this is a growing set of requirements that we hear is that, of course, facilitating the use case is important, but also how can I secure the content that is actually downloaded onto that device? And we'll talk about that.
And with that, why don't we go ahead and get started with your presentation, Chris?
Excellent. Sounds great.
Okay.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about video with value. And just to discuss Kumu, and for those of you who don't know us, what are we about? So, one of our mission statements is for us to help businesses of every type realize the greatest possible return from the value of their video and the production of that and publishing it. And this goes across the whole spectrum from producers of content and the democratization of content creators to those use cases that are very traditional in the sense that your CEO is giving an all-hands meeting and wants to make sure that every person is available if possible to view that live event securely as well as in a scalable manner. But we also look to make video and rich content as pervasive and productive as possible to enhance, just like email has done in the enterprise. And so this comes into play in many different scenarios where you want to take a piece of content and make sure that other users who are non-technical can easily share that and disseminate it throughout the organization. But also when you look at scenarios where you have this popular piece of content, you want to make sure that the network impact it has upon your organization is very light so that you don't have any concerns about this video having a negative impact upon your network and being able to have that productively serve as a point of training for those scenarios where it makes sense. So in general, one of the important tenets of our value proposition is that we're enterprise friendly and that we have the appropriate flexibility for our enterprise organizations. So of course we have our own product offerings that we sell to customers, but we also tend to stay very flexible in our integration capabilities. And this is part of what goes into our development and QA process and is a tenet of the organization. So going from left to right on this slide, one of the important use cases that our customers are very focused upon is how can I take a live feed from a video conferencing session or be able to ingest archive video conferences and have those flow through into our knowledge repository in the Video Control Center. But also, how can you integrate with third-party encoders within your own network? So in this case, some of those listed are VBrick, Viewcast, Digital Rapids, and being able to control those in a friendly manner as well as pulling those archives for later knowledge transfer is very important. And then when you get down to other use cases for, again, following that democratization of video, those users who are looking at the YouTube paradigm, I want to take a video that might have been created on my desktop using a quick capture tool that we provide, or just taking a flat file itself, uploading that to the portal, and then sharing that, making that content available to the greater population is another important point that we offer. And then going to the next step, you look at how can I make my enterprise portals and collaboration platforms such as SharePoint, WebSphere, IBM Connections, making them video ready so that not only can you upload and publish content to those platforms, but also offer users the ability to view that content, consume it, and do so in a scalable manner so that those platforms, those users stay within that user interface, but they also have the ability to know that from an IT perspective, the network impact is very light and there is not any degradation of the quality of those platforms when serving other content. And security, access control, also another important theme for our organizations. And so when we look to offer integration for security, we do so in a very flexible manner, leveraging their existing investments in LDAP for internal security, such as Active Directory, but also offering capabilities for SAML for external third parties who are trusted third parties, but you still need to be able to provide access control for secure content. And then we also look to leverage existing investments in ICDNs and ECDNs, or an internet-based CDN and also an enterprise-based content delivery network. So on the ICDN side, of course, offering choice for Akamai content distribution as well as other options for AT&T, and then internal to your network, providing flexibility. Of course, again, we have our own offerings here, but interoperability with Blue Coat, Cisco, ACNS, and WAS, Riverbed, and other vendors such as StrataCache are an important part of our value proposition. And finally, when you look at formats and browser compatibility, we tend to stay agnostic here and provide our customers choice on both the input and output side for playback, because of course, when you're looking at complex requirements for how do I serve mobile devices, being format agnostic and making sure that you constrain to the requirements of those devices is very important in terms of being successful in the enterprise. So what are some of the top demands and use cases that we're hearing from our customers? One of those items is social collaboration. These social trends are driving enterprises to incorporate video into widely used employee portals. There's a certain sense of, as an employee, I want to be enabled by my enterprise to be able to disseminate content, and when a video becomes viral, make sure that I can easily distribute that and share it with other employees within the organization. Another trend is mobile. The video experience must be seamless on all mobile devices. BYOD is definitely a trend that is everywhere within the enterprise, and facilitating that and making sure that you do a good job in meeting those use cases is very important for an enterprise solution. Search is another item. More advanced search is required to deal with the increasing volumes of video that's being created. We talked earlier about the democratization of content creation. As these tools are being used more and more often within the enterprise, more and more content is being created and is growing exponentially, requiring for search technologies to evolve as well. And security is another important point. Multiple layers of security for online and offline viewing are becoming increasingly critical. Not only do you have to have the capabilities to meet the use cases for access control, who can view secure content both internally and externally within your enterprise, but also as employees take content on their mobile devices and it resides within a local storage, how can you protect that content as a corporation is becoming increasingly important. So our approach to social features many different facets. The first is the out-of-box solution and integrations that we support as products with their own set of QA and development and respective roadmaps include the following vendors. Microsoft SharePoint, one of the most widely deployed integrations that we have, IBM WebSphere Stack, IBM Connections, which is a growing set of integrations required from our customers where they're looking for making video ready, these social collaboration platforms. And also as we look to the future, Oracle Web Center and the footprint for customers who are looking for us to support that third-party solution as well. And a second facet is some of the social capabilities built into our player, as well as our integration with these platforms for ratings on specific videos coming from users, the ability to make comments on a particular video and respond to comments. When you want to share a video, making that very easy so non-technical users who are very comfortable with the YouTube paradigm for sharing content and putting that as an embedded link in a third-party portal or into an IM, but then being able to customize that embed so that you can actually use a slider bar to clip that video specifically and just share a portion of that video that you want to call attention to, and even for specific use cases like video blogging and things of that like. And then finally, an API and SDK for added flexibility. We have many enterprise customers who like what we have out of the box with either our supported product integrations or the ability that we provide for customers to be able to embed those videos. Many customers look for a reference application or software development kit so they can take those capabilities and actually build their own integrations, which is a very common requirement. So being able to provide the gamut of this functionality is very important.
Chris, I have a question for you on this slide, actually. Phil talked a little bit about the importance of having a central repository. Mm-hmm. And in large organizations, they may not have every single employee accessing the exact same enterprise portal. Can you speak to that a little bit and how you are solving that issue for customers?
Sure. So as part of our integration, the nice thing is that there is complete sync between our own repository and the third-party portal application. So as an example, I might be in SharePoint, I upload content to SharePoint, and the way we handle that is that actually goes back to the Video Control Center repository. We provide a link back to SharePoint. So within SharePoint, I still have my videos, but if an enterprise has deployed, let's say, connections as well, I go into the My Videos interface on that solution, and I will still see that same set of videos. So those users who are comfortable and as, let's say, a business owner, I want to keep my employees within a specific portal, all of that content is synced in those different third-party solutions.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about our approach to mobility. Users on any mobile device can view, capture, and upload video. These are very important use cases that we've heard from many of our enterprise customers. And so we built that functionality as a result of those use cases and working with our customers as design partners. Our mobile platform is built on top of the Video Control Center and takes advantage of all the publishing workflows. So in other words, as we put together our solution for enabling mobile devices, whether it be on the app or the specific browser, we've looked to incorporate a lot of the services that are responsible for functionality such as upload or the ability to seamlessly capture using the camera roll on the iPad, all those things that we've looked to provide a lot of the functionality that's built into our portal. As part of our offering, we provide free Kumu reference apps for iOS, Android, and Windows phones and tablets. Our approach here is that our apps have had the same level of QA that we have with our own product. We provide those to some of our customers who take them as is and deploy them within their environment. But other customers look to add a certain level of functionality into the reference apps before they deploy within their own app stores. And so they'll take our reference apps and our supporting mobile SDK and build in some functionality that they may want to add as well. And then the HTML5 player support also becomes important when you look to scenarios such as, okay, I want to embed this video into a third-party solution, bring up my iPad and be able to show that embedded video. But also as I bring up my Safari browser with an iPad, I can see the portal as well as the player and be confident that it's going to be supported on that specific device. And then finally, Kumu Pathfinder ensures the right screen resolution, format, bitrate are all delivered automatically. And we'll get into some of the details when we talk about that important set of functionality that we built in combination with our customers as design partners. So let's talk about some of the details that go into Pathfinder. From our customers, a lot of the intelligence that we gather during the design process has been centered around two primary use cases. The first use case being, how can I hit a mobile audience that's geographically dispersed, which is a very common trend that we see within our enterprise organizations. They have employees scattered all over the world, and making sure that that video is delivered effectively to that employee audience is very key. The second is, how can I support the variety of different devices within that network so that not only will they see the proper video and have the formats correctly served to them, but have it be optimized for those devices. So those are two of the key tenets that go into the production of this technology. So as it flows through, there's the content prep side. So as an end user, the nice thing is I upload, let's say, a Windows media file. The template and the parameters which have been set in the template from the prep side will look at those specific use cases that have been defined by the administrator. And in this case, I might want to be able to hit iPads and iPhones as well as desktops. So the transcoding rules, which will happen automatically and will be applied to that video in the back end, will create, let's say, an HLS package that has a 200, 500, and 1200 kilobit HLS package, as well as, let's say, a couple flash files for 400 and 800 kilobits. That flows through to the network location. It basically looks at, okay, well, where is this viewer coming from within the network? We're going to have a set of viewers who might be in EMEA, and they're going to be served a lower bitrate stream. But then for those folks who are domestic, they might see a higher bitrate stream. But then it looks at the device type as well. So in this scenario, I talked about an iPad and iOS devices. So for those users, they're only going to see that HLS stream rather than have options for those flash files. And then next, we have scenarios where you might want to have LDAP groups or an LDAP user specifically get a higher bitrate stream. For example, we have customers who, so the vast majority of their audience within a specific location might have access to that earlier referenced 800 kilobit flash file, but for a specific audience or user who is in a conference room and is displaying their content up on a large LCD screen, they might see an HD version. And ultimately, this maps back to those use cases where it's very important to keep in mind the customer-specific requirements. And so finally, from the end user perspective, If I access with an iOS device or a mobile device, I'm going to see that HLS package because it knows that I'm accessing with that specific device and is only going to provide me with that HLS package, but also will serve a specific network enhanced bit rate so that if I'm actually providing this HLS package to a set of employees that are in EMEA, I can actually cap the bit rate so that I only have access to see that 500 kilobit version and that 200 kilobit version. So ultimately, we look to meet the demands of our customers as these requirements continue to evolve. But Pathfinder is really a very appropriate choice for those folks who are looking to engage the BYOD trend within the enterprise. So one of the other trends we talked about was how to best approach search. So you have your standard search for metadata text, for author, title, description, and have all that available in a basic index. But one of the growing trends that we've embraced is looking at the importance of spoken words simultaneously and providing options for that. Phonetics are probably one of the most underused forms of providing rich metadata. And so we've really looked for our speech search technology to take advantage of that. So this allows you to navigate by chapter or other specific metadata that can be tied to a given word and even keywords. And so the two very specific use cases are I might want to search within a video specifically for keywords which are spoken at a given time and have that show up on the timeline, but also have a federated search so I can search all the videos where a spoken word or a given set of tied terms comes up in that audio. So Kumu's approach to security is obviously a key requirement for our enterprise organizations. Authentication via LDAP and Active Directory or self-registration provides access control for a specific set of secure content that you may want to segregate within your enterprise. Support for web-based single sign-on, also something that we've had traditionally for the requirement of users not having to log in multiple times for different applications. HTTPS, SSL encryption, also something that comes up quite a bit, and we have a lot of experience here. IP blocking and filtering, geo restriction based upon where you are, and domain restriction, another key set of functionality. But then also having the ability to have content or URLs expire and have that set back to a date programmatically, something that our customers look for. And then optional password protection for content. You may not only want to have as a security access control, but also being able to additionally put an access code or a password on that content is something that comes up quite a bit. And then one thing we talked about earlier was some of our key customers are asking for, now that I have the ability to download content for offline viewing, one of the key things that comes up is how can I make sure that that content is secure? So the key set of requirements that we have implemented is all downloaded content is secured to the device and encrypted, so that you can't take a secure file and then share that with another user or somebody outside the organization. It's tied to that device and to you as a user. And then also providing remote capabilities for content wipeout for any mobile devices. Should someone leave the organization or should they change departments, you can go ahead and wipe that device and have the ability to do that remotely. Is something that has been a key requirement for our customers. So what is Kumu's approach when it comes to flexible deployment and meeting the needs of our customers' requirements? The first is to focus on that business's needs. So you have some customers who fall along the lines of the spectrum of they really want a YouTube type of scenario where they provided employees with the ability to upload content and share it very, very readily within their enterprise. Or you have specific customers on the other side of the spectrum who are very much looking for a top-down approach for communications where the CEO might be doing an all-hands executive briefing. So we provide a lot of professional services and training along those lines and a set of functionality that will meet the specific requirements of the customer. The second tenet is to really think of business video as a service. So when we develop our software and products, we really look at what are the requirements in terms of enterprise class, scalability, redundancy. Building all of those functionality, that set of functionality into a product is a key requirement and something that we take very seriously here at Kumu. And then finally, giving customers a choice. So when you think about every customer is different, every set of requirements is different. When we provide our options for product, you can buy it as an appliance, you can deploy it as a cloud solution, on-premise software, VM. We always tend to look at what's best for our customers and making sure that we can be flexible to meet their business requirements is a key tenet. And with that, I'll hand it back over to you, Stacy.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was great. I think at this point, we'll take some time and go through the demonstration that we're going to do that encompasses some of Kumu's mobile application capabilities, as well as a demonstration of the speech search capability. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. This is going to be a brief demonstration of speech search on the Kumu Video Control Center, and in this case, I'm running it in a browser on an iPad. First, I'll select Search in the top right-hand corner. I notice that I have text and speech both selected here. So as I type in the term that I'm searching for, it's going to search both the text metadata as well as the spoken words within the videos. And I'll go ahead and search. It's calculating the number of files being searched and then the number of files with speech matches, and here are my results. So I can scan the list to see the orange highlights are the text matches, and then the speech matches I can click on. Like in this first one, there are 6 speech matches. So if I select that, I can see that it found the word business by itself. It also found the word video by itself, and it found the word business video together. And that's what's being represented by the colored dots along the timeline. So if I want to go ahead and start playing that video and jump to those sections, I'll do that now. Okay.
Business video is simple.
Now I'm going to jump to the green dot. It should say the word video.
Take one speech from your CEO and drop it into the system. Video work.
And the next
helps
green
you
dot.
Make the most of it. Video to any device.
And now the red dot.
Anywhere. But businesses. But
And I'll pause that. So you heard as I jumped to those sections, the word video again, then the word business as I was going through those dots on the timeline. And that is essentially how speech search works. And you can see that there's a little bit more detail to go through, but in essence, you can use the same process to search an individual video as well as a series of videos and search them all at the same time. So that was a really brief demonstration of how speech search works in the Kumu Video Control Center. Now I'm going to show a brief demonstration of the free Kumu reference app. I happen to be using an iPad, so this is the out-of-the-box app that I downloaded from the App Store. I can see that at the very top there's particular categories that I can select from, and I can also browse through the channels. And if I want to play a particular video, I can just play it from here in the app. I'll go ahead and stop that. If I want to rate it, I can give it a rating of however many stars and submit that. If I want to comment on it, I can write a review. And submit that. There we go. And I can also submit my own videos. So if I go to this bottom right-hand corner where it says My Videos, and I click New, I can go ahead and select a video that I've recorded from my iPad, and I can submit it. I can quickly associate a thumbnail image photo with it, provide a name, provide a description, and I select what channel I want to put that in, and I can also put various tags and keywords, and then I can submit that. And that video will go through the same workflow process that any other video would go through, whether it was submitted on the desktop or from a mobile device, from any of the free reference apps on both iPads and iPhones, as well as Android phones and tablets, and Windows phones and tablets as well. All of those all the content is being managed by a central Video Control Center application. And that's it for a very quick demo of how to view content, interact with it, and upload your own content using the free reference app from Kumu. And with that, I do want to point out you can get a copy of the Forrester Wave report on video platforms for the enterprise on the Kumu website. Go to kumu.com/Forrester, and you can get your free copy there. And I do want to thank Phil and Chris for both being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Great. And that concludes today's webcast. Thank you.